Hi, I'm Jake. Welcome to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to be continuing with the clutch and flywheel swap on my 1973 Datsun 510. So this is where we left it at the end of the last video. I had the original clutch and flywheel assembly out, and the clutch release bearing sleeve is too short because the new pressure plate is a lot shorter than the old one. So waiting on some parts, which have now turned up. So this is a 32mm sleeve, so a bit longer than the old one. Let's have a new clutch release bearing. But before I do anything on this, I'm just going to address one other job before I put the gearbox in. And that is to weld up the panel I've got around the gear stick, which is currently riveted in place. So I've completely forgotten to film literally any of this. I just got a little bit carried away. So this is the panel I've got around the gear stick currently. It was held in with rivets where all these screws currently are. Basically what I'm doing is just cutting around the outside with a cutting disc and then welding it. So as I go, tack weld, cut a bit, tack weld, cut a bit, tack weld. So this is all like quite nice and even, work my way all the way around. So it's fully tacked, then go around and weld it all up. And after another bit of time of nail filming, this panel is about done. So I welded all the way around, gave it a quick coat of Gravitex, although I think I do need to go over a few areas where it's split. I think I put it on too heavy and it sort of split as it dried. Not the neatest job, but it's all going to be covered with sound insulation anyway. And now I can get back to the clutch and flywheel swap. So mega shit job of welding inside and underneath the car done. Back to clutch and flywheel. I've got this bearing here. I ordered an SKF one, but actually they've sent me a Koyo one. That's the part numbers for these two. So VKC 3500 for the SKF number, but that's actually a Toyo RCT 4075-1S, which the Koyo one's actually the one I had on this one, I think. Yeah, so that's the same part numbers I used before. Good bearings. What I'm going to do is just basically put this on here and give it a good old tappy tap. It's important to use like a socket or something suitably sized to push on this inner race. You definitely don't want to be hitting on the outside bit because this sort of outside is quite thin and you will dent it. So appropriately sized socket on the inner race. Tappy tap tap with a medium sized persuader. And that'll be ready to go in the gearbox. So bearing fitted, sleeve in place, and I'm just giving a quick measure with the Verniers. This sort of complete stack is still about 5mm shorter than this one, which I think is what I determined in the last video, there or thereabouts. I'm hoping it's going to be fine. I think as this clutch wears, that distance will, like the extra distance will decrease as sort of these fingers move up. But yeah, I think that'll do for now. It's the best I can do with basically what's available. I don't think they do anything that's longer than this 32mm. So yeah, time to disassemble this, clean everything, and get the flywheel mounted to the engine, I guess. So I brake cleaned the front and back of the flywheel, along with the sort of boss on the end of the crank that fits on the other side of this. Cleaned and degreased all the bolts for the flywheel, so 5 of them. Put a bit of Loctite on as well. Using 243, medium strength is what I've got, so that'll do. Yeah, time to install this. These will be torqued up quite tight. I think it's 101 foot-pounds. We'll double check before I finally tighten them, but sounds sensible, I think. So yeah, time to get this onto the engine. So that's the flywheel torqued up and in place. Tightened in a sort of star pattern, just to make sure it goes on even. I thought I'd show you the noise it makes when the torque meter clicks. Torque wrench. It's nice. Like, listen to this if I can do it with one hand. Ding ding! Flywheel in and clutch is up next. I've got my homemade clutch alignment tool because this didn't come with a new one. Clean up the bolts, Loctite on those as well, and time to fit that. There we go, clutch in place. You can see the little bit of scrap I've used over here just to wedge the flywheel. Seems to work quite nicely. Yeah, all tightened up. The
alignment tool slides in and out as nicely as can be expected. So ready to, I would say ready to fit the gearbox, but actually I need to drop this front cross member back down because I'd bolted it up while waiting. So refitting is the reverse of removal, and I dropped that down to remove the old gearbox and it seemed to work quite well. So I'll drop it down again and get to fitting the gearbox, I think. Quick mid-action video clip, just to show the method I use to get gearboxes in. I'm not as strong as some people. Bench pressing this from under the car, not really for me, especially not at the moment because I've hurt my back because I'm old. But yeah, the jack is doing the heavy lifting, both literally and figuratively. Basically, you want to support this around about the centre of gravity of the gearbox. I manhandle it on some little blocks of wood, front and back first, so I can get the jack under. Jack it up as much as you can, support it at the rear now, and then I'm just going to use the jack to lift it up and then slide it into place. Seems to work quite well if the car's close to the ground like this. Yeah, this is the method I use. It's only taken me a couple of minutes to get it up to that stage, and hopefully a couple more and it will be attached to the engine. So gearbox is bolted up to the engine. As far as fitting gearboxes goes, this one didn't actually result in much swearing, which is always good. I think I'm starting to get the hang of these. Before I do anything else though, so bolted up to the engine, very first check I want to make is the distance between this clutch fork and the front of the gearbox. So I've got my trusty metal ruler here. So sort of from where the pivot point sits, and you want to push that till it touches the clutch. Obviously this is a bit of an angle, which is suboptimal, but let's try and see if we can't see what that is. So I make that, what's that, 118? Also, the magic number for that distance from here to the front of the gearbox is 115. The old one was 110, so this was a little bit over here. And that's because the release bearing clutch stack height I had was a little bit too long. The new one's a little bit shorter, so that moves this way, but actually we're sort of within the same tolerance of okay as the previous setup, so fingers crossed this works. This looks in a sensible position as well. Doesn't look like it's gonna bottom out on this side of the gearbox, which is the risk if the clutch stack is too short. So yeah, now I'm happy with that. I'm gonna bolt the crossmember back to the car, get the gearbox crossmember mounted, and start putting things back together. So front crossmember bolted back up, gearbox crossmember bolted up to the body, engine and gearbox secured together, all tightened up. Next job was to refit the stave cylinder, which is over here. Ignore the super long hose. But yeah, and I've given the pedal a feel, and it feels okay. Did get a little bit distracted while I was doing all of this. And this bolt down here, the nut was loose from the body, so previously the bolt went in through the top from a nut underneath, but now I've welded it on like it should be. And next up, what's next? Starter motor, and then prop shaft, exhaust, and I think it's about done really. Gearbox oil, I'll do that last. So yeah, let's just start plodding away. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long before I can fire this thing up. Starter motor is back in, which I think technically is all it would need to fire the car up, but I'm not going to do that yet because I still need to refit the prop, exhaust, refill with gearbox oil, and sort of firing up with no exhaust would be just childish really, very antisocial. So I'm not going to do that, quite irresponsible really. There we go, exhaust and prop shaft fitted now, so it's a bit less antisocial. Yeah, certainly getting there. I still need to fill the gearbox with oil and
put the seat back in, so no seat. But yeah, nearly ready to take it for a proper drive. Time to fill up the gearbox with some oil. I've got my homemade pressure bleeder thing. Basically just got a hose that goes down to the bottom of this. Bike valve on top, plug it into the airline, pressurise it, and then the air pushes down, pushes the oil out. Nice way of getting up into the side of the gearbox. And I'm going to put a little bit of this into the gearbox oil. So 7590 GL4 is the important part. Doesn't eat brass synchros, GL5 does. Yeah, got a little bit of this. It's oil dye. So you may have seen in some of the previous videos, if I ever spill any gearbox oil anywhere, it's like blood. That's because it's got some of this red dye in. Really helps identifying oil leaks. Like if you see a red drop on the floor, you know it's gearbox oil. This stuff is very potent. I don't know if you can see the label on it. It's the forbidden squash. Literally, like, I think it's 1 mil per litre is all you need. So literally just put a splash in the first bottle, shake it up, fill that up, and then I'm not going to put anything in the next one. And that'll be enough. Yeah, let's get to it, because I want to go for a drive. So here we have the dye in this oil. You can see very red versus the standard stuff that's clear. Yeah, very noticeable. And that was the tiniest amount, not even half a capful. Literally just a little bloop. So yeah, I'll stick that in. I'm probably not going to bother with any dye in that. I think this is sufficient. Maybe do a little bit more, but that'll do. That'll be enough to tell it's gearbox oil, I think, even once it's diluted down with the other litre. So I've finished filling the gearbox, and as always, I've made a mess, but this is a good example. Undyed gearbox oil, dyed gearbox oil. So yeah, very obvious if you see any drips on the floor, where it's come from. I really need to get another dye to put in the diff, actually. Because sometimes, especially if I'm swapping ends, I don't know if it's dripped from the diff or... So undyed engine, red in the gearbox, maybe blue or UV or something for the diff. Have a think. So car is back on the ground. I've fitted an seat at least, so that means it's time for a drive. God, it's messy in here. So yeah, go for a drive, see how the new clutch and flywheel feel. So it's pitch black outside because it's, what, 5:20? Hate winter. So yeah, I think I'll leave you behind, but we shall see how we get on. So test drive went okay for the most part. The clutch is pretty much on the floor though, so I need to adjust that. I just had a thought as I was driving the car that I did pop the slave cylinder piston out because I was doing some stuff with the clutch pedal and pushed the clutch pedal down and popped that out, so that probably needs rebleeding, which is why it's on the floor. So I'll get that done first. If that doesn't solve the issue, I've got an adjustable sort of rod for the slave as well, which I can adjust a little bit. So yeah, I'll try those two things and see how we are. It'll probably be tomorrow now because I'm gonna have some dinner and probably can't be bothered to do anything else today. It's been quite a busy day. So yeah, we'll check in tomorrow and bleed up the clutch. It's the next day, it's light outside as you can probably see back here. Bled the clutch up and it feels much better now. So yeah, time to go for a test drive. It is pissing it down outside, so I don't really want to go for a drive, but I obviously do. So yeah, gonna nip to the shops and I'll let you know how I get on. clutch is quite grabby, and there is definitely less inertia, so I just need to get used to it a little bit, I think. It's quite drivable though. Shifts are effortless. So overall, the test drive went really, really well. Really happy with this clutch and flywheel setup. To sort of recap the benefits, the engine feels a lot more responsive, so it revs up nicer. Upshifts and downshifts both feel quite a lot nicer, that you never have to drag the engine speed up. It just matches gearbox and road speed very easily. Pulling away, the clutch feels a little bit grabbier, but that's probably because it's rated for 1.5 times the torque of the old one. So pulling away, you have to be a bit slower with the clutch than the old one. The old one was slipping, which probably helps that. But yeah, overall, this new clutch, easier to find parts for, revs up quicker, upshifts and downshifts feel nicer, it revs up nicer in neutral. Overall, very happy with this. It's not too low inertia that pulling away is a pain. Like, I've never been at risk of stalling the car, which is good. I think if anything, you could probably go lighter. Although Kameari do a lighter spec of this clutch, which is, I think it's only about 700 grams lighter, which I'm not sure you'd really notice too much change from the current one. But overall, yeah, very happy with it. So that's where we're going to leave it for today. If you've enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing. Check out some of the other videos on the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.